I'm Ellie.
Welcome back to Virtual Ventures, the podcast for virtual assistants and online service providers.
Today, we're talking about stepping away from your business for a holiday, why so many business owners struggle to properly switch off, and how to prepare so you can actually take a real break from your business. So, Kat, as a self-employed person, what's your experience with actually taking some time off, stepping away?
So my experience, I suppose for any solopreneur, the thing is, when you're a solopreneur, you're a solopreneur. Suddenly you don't have people to cover for you and fill in for you. You know, it's a very different setup to, especially as someone who came from a corporate background, where there was various departments and there was always someone to cover at least most aspects of my job,
Yeah.
while I was away. And so I could leave the desk on, say, that Friday, and if I wasn't coming back for 2 weeks, I could completely forget about what was going on and not worry about it in the slightest, and come back 2 weeks later. Yes, probably to extra lot of work, but I wouldn't have to flinch basically while I was on my holiday for fear of anything.
Mm,
Working for yourself is very different,
totally.
and I know we're going to talk about the planning and, how we can plan, but the hardest part for me, I think, really is the switching off of the mind, and the being outside of the office and not thinking of the office. Like I said, even at the, when I started out, I didn't have an actual office. And that's the danger too, is that, your office can travel with you anywhere you go. So for me personally, when I started out, I found that I wasn't planning accordingly. So I was working a lot. And I know, anytime we took a break with the kids, I remember one distinctly actually being in Portugal for a week's break, and trying to, anytime we came back to the room, I'd quickly flip open the laptop, check on
Mm,
emails, see everything was going okay. I would do as much prep in the mornings as I could before we left to go on wherever we were going. But there was several evenings that I spent, as soon as the kids were in bed asleep, I would go into the bathroom and I would sit in the bathroom. Yeah, it happened several of the evenings I was on holidays.
wow.
I'd open up the laptop and I'd try and catch up on work. And it was that holiday really that made me kind of go, no, I can't do this anymore for holidays. Something really has to change
Has to
here.
change.
I
Do you
need.
know there's a trap we can fall into really easily. We can work absolutely anywhere and
Mhm.
whenever we want, but you can end up falling into a trap of working everywhere and all the time. But I think there is a difference though between the working holiday and an actual switched off holiday. You can do a working holiday too.
Working holiday for sure. And there's
Mm.
that flexibility. There's something nice about it as well. The
Yeah,
fact that, like, you can bring your laptop,
and do
you
that.
can travel, and you can work in the mornings and the evenings and make sure you're doing all your traveling during the day and stuff. For me personally, it's when the kids are involved though. I don't like I personally found that really, really tough. And I felt like I was taking away from them because I was working a little bit later in the evening. I was a bit more tired as well. And
Yeah.
as well, the anxiety of what I'm missing was, I felt, was starting to
Hard.
seep into my days as well, where we'd be out and I'd be looking at the at the time and just going, oh God, I need to get back because I really need to check my inbox and, make sure everything's so, like, that's not great. So I think, if you're going on a working holiday, and that's the way it's intended. I know some people can go, if you're going to get a caravan or mobile home for the summer and go away with kids, and the kids are, they know what's happening and you've got some sort of setup. Um,
Mm.
Great, that can work for you. But I think, all of us need to just take, even if it's a week, 2 weeks, whatever, a year, that we just step away from a
Off.
business, that we
Yeah.
completely switch off. We all need that. We need to recharge, to, reinvigorate ourselves as well, to come back into our business. I think it's really, really important. So I found that blurring of the lines, because of the flexibility, because of what you said, you can take your office anywhere with you. It's amazing and it's great. And we'll talk about the benefits of that in other ways on other podcasts, I'm sure. But at the same time, we have to realize the dangers involved in that, and where we can let that get away from us a little bit, to the point where it is impacting our family time, our personal time, our, our wellness, all that sort of piece as well. So I think they're kind of just the really key points. But yeah, so for me, it's something that I've found very difficult over the years. I've had to find ways to manage it. We'll talk about some of them. But for me, it's the planning piece is key and the proactive planning, planning in advance, all that is the key. But how about you?
Yeah.
What's your experience of holidays, work, stepping
The
away?
planning in advance for sure. And I do think there is, yeah, you've got our work and holidays and we've got our actual switched off completely holidays. I will admit, just saying it from the get-go, I could definitely take more time off. Okay. I probably don't take as much as I could, but I am actually quite good at taking switched off time off when I do it. And I've gotten quite good at the prep, but that came from experience and yeah, figured it out. I remember the first bit of time off I ever took for my business. It was a week. I was going to Portugal as well. Thought that was funny when you mentioned Portugal. And I was in business about a year. So yes, for that whole year, I did not take any time off. And there's a couple of different reasons for that. The first one is I had just started a new business that I really was hell bent on making work. And so I worked very hard. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I did take a day off for my 30th, I think, at the time. And we were in lockdown is the second reason. It was 2020. So the 30th was in lockdown, which was actually great fun. But we couldn't go anywhere, right? Now, that's not to say don't take time off when you're not going somewhere. You can still take time off to live your life at home, which is a great thing to do. But anyway, I was going to Portugal and I put a lot of prep in.
Mm,
I will admit a lot of prep into making sure my clients were informed that everything was ready, everything was worked perfect, and that all went really, really well. And I very nearly brought the laptop with me.
mm,
Very, very nearly. Honestly, it was sitting beside my suitcase. It was like a last minute decision not to bring it. I was like, I need it just to check things, make sure everything's okay. And the only reason I actually didn't bring it was because it was just a bit of a pain to kind of carry around. Like that was with the bags I had but I brought the work phone. And I remember getting over there and I'm still relatively a new business owner in business about a year and like, checking the phone. Cat, nothing came through. Nobody was looking for me. Like nobody.
I know. Yeah.
Nobody was looking for me because they all knew I was taking time off and I'd done that preparation and they were expecting not to hear from me. So I remember for the first couple of days, I did check the phone a bit. All right. And then as the days went on, I kind of realized, Ellie, no one is looking for you. You're fine. Like it's all good. And I stopped checking. So now, 6 years in, I would definitely, be a lot better at actually turning the phone off with the laptop and putting them both away. But something I learned, I have to say, that time was I didn't prepare for coming back, which was kind of hard.
Yeah.
That was, I felt like I needed another holiday after like my second day back. It was just crazy. So to say that, I think I've gotten better at it. I'm not too bad at switching off, but probably don't take enough
Yeah.
time off for my
Yeah.
business.
100%. Yeah. And I suppose talking about that, like, yeah, what you kind of sparked in me there was the why we don't take the time off. And I suppose there's a lot of stuff going around the whole fear of missing out and like we normally talk about FOMO in the way of fear of missing out of the fun and all that sort of stuff, but it's the fear of missing out of opportunities and things that could come in, or the fear of missing something for a client, or and then also we have to battle with the whole idea of, well, if we are taking time out, then that means we have to probably front load a lot of our work. And where are we going to fit that in? And how are we going to
Yeah.
do all that? And, again, unless we do the proper preparation for it, a lot of that is going to end up with front loading the week before. So we're running ourselves ragged the week before we
Yeah.
go away to be able to get away for that week. But then we're exhausted by the time we're getting to go away. And maybe that's
Like, is
impact.
this worth it?
It is worth it. And then
Is
like
it worth it?
as well, it's like all the catching up afterwards as well. So there's lots of kind of mindset pieces as well that come
Yeah.
out. Or, even there's where the whole imposter syndrome can creep in as well, where sometimes you might go, oh, well, if I step away for a week and the client can manage without me, then they might go, oh, maybe I don't need you anymore.
Mm.
And there's all this sort of stuff that comes up, and like we're our own worst enemies, like, but like you said, actually, it is interesting when you do kind of get to a stage where you start realizing how, yes, things can run without me, and that's not a bad thing, but it's probably they're running without me because I've put in the work beforehand to enable that to happen. Um,
Yes.
so it's bringing it back to fact as well, and not letting your thoughts kind of run away with you on all of those kind of these scenarios or what ifs and all that sort of stuff, but putting in that work kind of beforehand. So yeah, so we've got that kind of the mindset piece of, the fear of taking that time out. And then we've talked about as well the blurring of the lines as well and how easy it is to do that. Because like you said, I remember working in corporate and I knew to a T what my hours were, what I had left. If there was an extra hour here and there, it was
Book
accounted
them
for.
all.
I was going to use it
Yeah,
somewhere. Whereas like you, for sure, for the first few years of my business, I don't recall planning to take time out properly. It was just
no,
I'd say, yes, okay, we're going here as a family and I'll work around it. That was my attitude. I will fit in. My laptop is coming with me, so I'll figure out while we're on the move, while I'm in the car. I've been working if we're traveling around Ireland. I'm the laptop out in the front of the car and I'm working on the laptop. Like it was that bad. So understanding when you're in the game a while, I think you realize and you see other people setting boundaries. You see clients saying, I'm not going to be available for this amount of time. And you kind of go, well, I think it's okay for them to do that. So why am I saying it's not okay for me to do that? So it's all kind of it's a lot of it is learning, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say, and you
for
kind of
sure.
doing that as you go. Um, but I suppose we hope here today to maybe just talk a bit more about what we can do
Getting out.
to
Yeah, we want you to go on holidays.
Ah, and again, and it's preparing to go on holidays. It's
Yeah.
for some people that might be preparing to take time out for whether it's maternity, parental leave in a way, a carer's leave. Maybe there's something unexpected that comes up. And actually in saying that, we do have a training in SVAI, which is we created our break glass document. So in case of emergency, break glass, and you have this pre-prepared kind of workbook which is your almost like your business contingency plan for like that. If you need to take a holiday and you have these things already set up in advance, if you need to take unexpected leave, whatever it is. So we're going to talk through a little bit about some of those things now, aren't we? About what we can do.
Yeah, what we can do, because first and foremost, the thing is that you need to take time off, regardless of who you are, what you do. We all need to take time away, for ourselves, mentally, physically, for our businesses. You are always going to come back a better business owner after some time off. And that's the funny thing about it, Kat, isn't it? Is that people might be worried. They're like, what about my clients? What about the opportunities? What about my team if they have a team? Or what about all those things? They are going to benefit so much more from you being rested
Yeah.
and having had that break. Like your business is going to be better and you're going to be a better business owner from having taken that break. So that is why we're encouraging you right now to get that time off. I think the first thing is that you have to plan it. Planning is everything when it comes to taking any type of time off in your business. As you mentioned there, there's any type of different leave you might want to take. A maternity leave is one I'd love to talk about in another episode too, because it's quite in depth. It's a very nerve-wracking thing to do. But planning is the main thing. So first, what's the first thing you can plan? When you're going.
Yeah.
When are you going? I remember in my workplace anyway, me and my husband would, at the start of the year, before I was self-employed, look down and say, right, what are we taking off this year? And kind of line it up and get it in, purely because you wanted to get your week off. I don't know about you, Kat, but where I worked, you might be able to take the week if someone else had taken that week off or something. And so we wanted to make sure to get the time we wanted. And so we would sit down at the beginning of the year, take out the calendar and say, what are we taking this year? And get it booked in. And for me anyway, and I think for a lot of us, that changed when I became self-employed. I didn't do that anymore. I didn't look at what time off I was taking. And it took me a couple of years to get back into the habit of like actually sitting down and picking the dates out, because you just need to pick them and let your clients know,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
when it is.
yeah, it's letting them know. It's the communication. That's
Mhm.
the biggest block as well about from people as well. And sometimes it's just a case of just communicating whenever you
Just
are taking
saying.
it in advance. But yeah, just coming back to what you said, 100%. I'm the same. I did not plan out, like you
Yeah.
mentioned, corporate, absolutely had to a T what my days off were when I was taking my holidays. Especially when you have to but there's other people there as well.
Yeah.
So it is lovely that we do have this flexibility to be able to decide, spontaneously in a way to a point when we want to go away or if we want to take a quick trip here or a week off there. But for the most part, I do like to personally look at my calendar and go, okay, when is our main trip? So
Mm.
my family, we take one sort of main trip a year. And so we like to block out 2 weeks. We might not go away for the full 2 weeks. But we might go away for a week and take a couple of days at home in between, on either side of that as well. But we like to get that in early on at the very start of the year, if not the end of the year previous. And that's blocked out in my calendar. That's like a non-negotiable. Because then the way, if you have that there, you can kind of reverse engineer that. Again, things are going to crop up during the year. You might decide, like I said, to take a spontaneous week, and that's fine. But for the most part, when you know, get it in your calendar because then you can reverse engineer that a little bit, and make the plans kind of, of what you need to do to get ready for that and to prep, to let your clients know and to prep for that.
Right. So that would be step one, really, wouldn't it, Kat, is pick the dates, get them in your calendar, let your clients know. And actually, a little tip that I've done over the years is I have put the dates in my client's calendar myself if I have access to it, just to make sure that they are aware of when I'm taking time off.
Oh, that's great. If you do have
Mhm.
access to that, that's really, really great, actually. Yeah. And even if you don't, you could probably send them like a calendar invite as well and
Right.
just say, like, this could just be in your calendar as a reminder, just to let you know I am off those dates. So that's a really great tip, actually. Really, really great.
Yeah, and the preparation is so important. It might be like, well, what am I preparing for? We
Yeah.
are preparing to make sure that your clients are happy while you're away. Okay, there's nothing, the house isn't on fire, there's nothing crazy happening while you're away. You're actually going to be able to walk away and not feel stressed out about it. We're preparing for that to happen. We let the clients know and periodically remind them, okay? It really does depend on the type of client, but you do want to keep it on both of your radars, don't you? Like both of you know, okay. Ellie or Kat is going to be on holidays in 3 weeks' time or 2 weeks' time. So, what do we need to have done ahead of that?
Mhm.
Not only does keeping it on your client's radar help to make sure that your projects are going to be wrapped up before you go, that you're meeting the deadlines before you go, it's going to stop them from dropping things on your plate the last minute,
Yeah.
which we really
Yeah.
don't want.
Oh, that's so.
Nobody wants the week you're going for a client to go, oh, hey, Ellie, by the way, or Kat, come here, I've got this big project. And you're like, are you for real?
But
Supposed to be
that's
going
it.
on holidays.
And that again, that's why it's really important to reverse engineer because you can have all those little kind of keystones, like, or milestones, whatever you want to call them, within your calendar as well as little prompts and reminders that come up for you and say, again, 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks out, I need to flag this again that I'm going on holidays. Then maybe 6 weeks, 4 weeks out, say this is the deadline for the last piece of work that I will be
Yeah.
able to take, so anything that you need done with this time has to be submitted. Anything that you're waiting on the client for or that you need from the client in advance has to be given to you or received by you or to you 2 weeks in advance or something. And again, I would always, always urge people to put a buffer in there. So if you need
Oh,
it
for sure. Always.
Friday the 10th, you tell them, Monday the
Wednesday.
whatever, whatever works out as.
Uh,
So like 100%, give yourself like maybe if I would even say a 5 to 7 day buffer there of when you need something by because things happen, lastminute.com happens, and the client will know that the D-Day is Friday, and then suddenly it's Friday, and they're going, "Oh, can you just give it to me, or can I give it to you on Monday? I just didn't get a chance, and then it stretches out. So I would 100% urge people to put a little buffer in there for sure of, like they need it by this date. Okay, let's work back a little bit of that. So again, all of the kind of key reminders throughout your calendar of when you need stuff, when you can take stuff on. Again, a block on, if a new client approaches me, what's your process there. So
mhm,
without getting too far ahead, let's sort of break it back into smaller pieces again. So you mentioned there it depends on the type of client. It also depends on your type of setup and how you can plan. Because in some cases, we are solopreneurs and we're working on our own, and it's just us and our clients that we need to think about. In other cases, we might be working with others. So whether that is in the form of a team, you might have a team of associates, you might actually have people employed for you, or you might be working as part of a client's team as well. So
mhm,
each of you could be a certain cog in the wheel. And so not only does your client need to know that you're going away, but these people also need to know. So anyone who's involved in your team. And so that's why, as part of, I suppose, the contingency plan as well, which, goes deeper than just preparing for 2 weeks on holidays, but comes in useful when you're going on holidays is having this kind of sort of some certain amounts of work set up beforehand. So whether that is in the form of SOPs, so that while you're away, you can say, okay, this is how I do this for this client, and it's documented, whether it's like recorded on Loom videos or whatever, you have some kind of SOP in place that you can share with the associates that you work with, and that they might be able to take over, or you can share it with the client's team if they need to cover certain pieces while you're away. That kind of prep work in advance can be really, really useful when it comes to taking holidays and stuff.
Yeah.
And again, that very much comes down to your setup. For a lot of people, that's not going to be an option because it's them and the client, and they don't have anyone to offload that stuff to. But what I would recommend, what I always use when planning is the 4Ds system.
Yeah.
Well,
Hmm.
so again, looking at your calendar and planning out when is the last sort of, when would be the recommended date that I need to do this planning for, whether I need to front load work, offload work, or whatever it is. Okay. And use like in my preference would be to use this 4Ds or a version of it plan, which is diary, delegate, uh, ditch, or what's the other?
Do.
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 My brain was gone. Do diary. I missed it at the start because I don't. Do diary, delegate, ditch.
That's it, yeah.
So, okay, what do I need to do now in advance of, so the do section, we're looking at that square, we're saying, okay, what do I need to do in advance that only I can do? I have to have this done. What is that? So write that list of tasks or jobs, whatever it is that you'll need to have done in advance. Then what can I diary for a later date? What can wait till I'm back? What doesn't need to be done for,
Yeah.
another few weeks or months or whatever? What really doesn't need to be done at all. This could be a really good time to reevaluate how you work and the systems that you've set
Yeah.
up. Sometimes it could be a case of, look, I'm actually spending a lot of time doing this. It's really not important. We don't really use it. It's double, I'm double jobbing on something else, or it's repetitive work, or whatever it is. You can ditch it all together, or you can just ditch it for now and say, look, that's irrelevant. We're coming back to that next year. Let's not worry about it. So it's a form of diary slash ditching. But you're just getting rid of that and you're not even going to think about it. And then delegate. So that's the piece. So is there certain pieces, like again, this comes back to your setup, but is there certain tasks that I can assign to an associate, to a team member? Is there certain class tasks that, and this has happened to me with working before, that the client will just have to cover while you're away. And that
Yeah. That
check
happens.
inbox. I mean, someone's going to have to do it. So it just might go back to them for the week. And again, you could bring your planning into this and organize in some way so that you've filters set up. You've got, with AI now, you can set up like, autoresponders and things like that as well, that they'll have everything, sorted for them. So you could have some sort of automation set up that they then approve for replies. Again, I don't want to get into the technicalities of it, but there are systems you can do. But in some
Yeah.
cases, that delegation could look like delegating back to your client just temporarily to cover just that period while you're away. In other cases, and something that I think it's come up on our calls sometimes as well, is where if the beauty of SVI, suppose, is that we've got a lovely community of
Yeah.
people who get really, really close and get to know each other and their businesses and how they work and all the rest. So we've seen some lovely collaborations and associate work and
Lovely.
everything. But maybe certain elements of what you do for clients could be potentially handed over with that. If you had a peer, a friend within, whether it's SVI or in your business world in some way, that you would trust for a week, for 2 weeks, just to cover certain elements, could be an option as well that you could
It's
look
an
in.
idea. Yeah.
Have a
Yeah.
system that both of you help each other out for these things. There's loads of different options there, I suppose, is the at the end of the day.
I will say though, I do think that when it comes to the actual work, and if you are going to delegate, it's important that the client's like, oh yeah, bring someone in to, that they know and that they agree to it. I was actually just talking to somebody about maternity leave lately, and we were discussing, what you do. And one of the first steps I did there was I said to my clients, do you want cover? Or
Yeah.
do you want to kind of just go pause until I'm back? And this is the same when it comes to like obviously that's a longer period of time and we will go into it another time, but that's kind of the same here, whether you're going to be gone for a week, 2 weeks. The client might be like, I can't do without
Yeah.
you. I need somebody. I need somebody. And you're like, okay, so that doesn't mean you can never take time off. Oh my God, you still have to take time off. But it might mean, like you said there, Kat, absolutely, you could have another SVAI member or another online service provider you're familiar with and you trust that just steps in for you every now and again. And
Yeah.
maybe it could be like a little vice versa thing that you guys do.
That's it. And again, yeah, you're totally right though. Like it will come down to the client. I mean, the client has to be involved in
Mhm.
the decision as well. You can't just like, I want to give this person access. And as well, it will come down to, because a lot of this stuff that we talk about, it depends because every situation and setup is different. So it depends. Yeah, I mean it's the kind of get out. a reply or response, but it's true because it really does.
Yeah, it
Some
really
systems
does.
not going to be as easy to just be able to give someone access to or transfer or whatever.
Mm,
It's not going to be that easy and straightforward. But in some aspects, like we just want you to kind of think about what are the possibilities, what are
yeah,
your options, and from then, absolutely, we have to include the client in any decisions that we are making with that,
yeah.
especially when it comes to access to any of their stuff.
There are
Um,
things. Yeah,
yeah. So I think really it's the plotting that time, whatever that time is, even if it's a short notice thing, just once you know it, you then begin your process of reverse engineering. And you put in your little milestones as well of when I need to have certain things done.
yeah,
The key is the communication piece with the client to let them know what's
yeah,
happening, when it's happening, what do they need to do from their point. Make it as easy as possible. We always talk about making things as easy as possible with your clients because the most issues come from if you're putting stuff back on a client, if you're not communicating with the client. That's where the kind of friction points happen with clients and VA
yeah,
relationships for the most part. So if you can keep that as clear and transparent as possible, you're winning already. So definitely communicate everything with the client. Let them know this is how it can work. So you have the solution. They don't have the
mhm,
headache of going, oh, what am I going to do? The fact that you've created a solution for them of what's going to happen. Um, and really it can be a very straightforward thing. I mean, a simple out of office on can solve a lot of issues, just having the guts to set this out of office up and say, I am out from this
exactly.
time to that
To
time.
this time.
I will respond on my, I have
Bye,
no
guys.
emails. Yeah. So a
Yeah.
simple thing like that can work wonders.
Yeah. The truth is, it's actually a relatively simple process. It is a relatively simple process. It's about planning, it's about communication. We went through a lot of different options there because, as we said, it does depend on you, your business, your clients, your setup. So, we do want to just give you all the options there so you can start thinking, oh, I could actually do that. That would work for me. It is a relatively simple process. There's work involved, though. And I think that's part of why people might avoid it. They're like, oh, but I'll have to do the extra work to take the time off. But the mindset piece seems to be the hardest
Yeah.
part for people when it comes to taking time off. Like, yeah, there is work involved. It's not crazy hard or anything. You're just trying to get a little bit ahead or get things organized so you can take the time off. But it's really, I think, the mindset piece for people that stops them is in, I'm not going to be available. I need to be available. I feel guilty. How can I do this? Like, that's what stops people.
I find that across business as a whole, it's us that are the biggest blockers in anything. So I think it's a mentality that we have to work on. It's not an overnight fix for sure. I think it helps just talking. We always say that in SVI as well. Just talking with each other about what other people are doing and how they manage it and stuff, then makes it easier for us to go, oh, okay, well, that's kind of
It's
the norm.
doable.
That's
Mhm.
do yeah, and it's the norm. Like, so that should be okay for me to do too. So yeah, when it comes to mindset, there's no overnight fix. It's just a case of kind of learning, reflecting, figuring out how to do things a little bit better and in a way that feels comfortable for you. So again, one of
Yeah.
the best ways you can make that feel comfortable for you is that planning stage, is that looking at the calendar, mapping it out, reverse engineering it, mapping out what you need to do and communicating that with the client because then you're ticking all the boxes and you're doing everything you need to do and the client is going to be like, oh, brilliant. There's no
Oh,
impact happening.
sorted.
There's
Yeah.
nothing negative happening because everything's taken care of here. And
It's
she's
all
got,
taken care of.
yeah. Um,
Exactly. Yeah. It's a moment to put your business owner hat on, I think. At that point, it's like we talked about how in your old job, you definitely took all your holidays. We did. I'm sure you did. That's what we all did. But there is nobody now. There is nobody now to say this is how much you can take. There's nobody to say this is how many days you've left to take. There's nobody to get you to book them in. You have to do it yourself. And so it is a moment where you just need to, because the clients, well, not all, there are some will be like, are you taking time off this year? But there are quite a few who will just, they don't mind. They're like, cool. I've got her every day to do my work. So it's up to you to be like, be a good boss to yourself and say, hey, it's time for me to actually get this time in the calendar and get it booked because the process itself is actually not that hard. And I have to say, when I took that first week off in Portugal and I nearly freaked out and brought the work phone and it all ended up being okay. When I came back, my client was like, Ellie abandoned me.
oh,
She was said that on a call the next week. He was like, Ellie abandoned me there for a week. And honestly, it was like the biggest compliment I ever heard because I was like, he missed me. I
Yeah,
am actually, good at what I do, and what I'm doing brings value. And yeah, it was a nice little compliment, but you're never going to know that
yeah.
unless you actually take the time off.
That is actually a really valid point of sometimes it's kind of nice to give them a little bit of a shake up and kind of go, wow, they do so much. And to actually give them that opportunity as well to kind of see the value in you in a way by suddenly going, you're not as available or you're
You're
not there.
not there. Yeah.
That's nice, actually. Yeah, that just, I didn't think of it that way until you just kind of said it, but it just kind of, yeah, it's to give them that little bit of a shake to kind of go, oh my God, yeah, it's great to have you back. Brilliant.
Oh, so happy to see you.
Yeah, I feel the relief already. So, okay, so getting down to kind of the last few tips, I suppose. Yeah, the main thing is to, once you've done your planning, kind of, and you've done that, the do diary, especially the diary piece and doing that brain dump before you leave to make sure that everything that needs to be done or needs to be taken care of in some way, you can be sure it is. And if it's not dealt with before you left, that is diaried for when you come back so that you're
Yeah.
not constantly thinking about that stuff when you're away. The other thing I would recommend is to delete any of your email apps or anything like that while you're on holidays if you can.
Off your
Um,
phone.
just
Yeah.
off your phone if you can. Again, I know personally
Hmm.
I feel this sometimes as well. I feel like I still need to bring the laptop with me, even though I
You're
don't
not going to use
really open it or do anything. There's a comfort blanket kind of thing there of me
it.
that
Yeah.
in case of emergencies. And what I say to clients as well, because I do like to take the email app and stuff off, but what I'll say is that if there is something absolute emergency, you can send me a message on this. So it might be like a WhatsApp message or something. Again, it's not something I would recommend for everyone, but it's just if that was something that made you feel a little bit more comfortable. If you just need it as a
Yeah.
security blanket, that's absolutely fine. And I completely personally for sure.
I love
But
that.
the only thing I would say as well though is that, and you mentioned it at the start, is to think also about your coming back. And one thing I like to do is to leave that little kind of bit of a buffer day or two, even when you come back. So your clients know you're coming back on this day. So if you're back on the 6th, but if you can arrange to be, you're back in the office on the 4th, but as far as your clients know, you're back on the 6th. Because that gives you just a little bit of leeway between starting back in with clients as well to be able to catch up on emails, to get yourself organized, to rewrite and remind yourself of your to-do list and what you've got coming out or coming up, so that again, you're front loading a lot of stuff before you leave and then you're diarying a lot of it for afterwards. So you just want to give yourself that little kind of bit of time to get back into it and to without just going, oh my God, I'm straight back and I'm into calls and I'm into this and that. So give yourself a little bit of time. So there's a few kind of little mini tips as well.
Yeah, yeah, I've got a couple too. And echoing on that one, oh my God, yeah, my head was fried the first time I came back from taking time off. Everybody wanted me and everybody wanted me now. And one thing that I learned was before you go, schedule your client catch-ups for when you come back. Because then it's amazing the mindset change it has for clients. If you don't have that scheduled in, they'll be like, where is she? Oh my God, I need this, this, this. Whereas if they know when they're going to meet you, talk to you, catch up, they're not all over you as much. So that would be one piece of advice I would have is definitely get those calls in before you go, so that you know when you are going to be meeting clients. But also try not to let every holiday you take become a working holiday, right? As we said, you don't need to be going somewhere to take time off. This year myself, I did take a week off just to be at home and with my son and visit family, and it was really nice. But we can fall into a trap of every abroad holiday, it being a working holiday. And whilst those are lovely, and they are, I've done them myself, they're great. We don't want to fall in the trap of all of them becoming that. Like, do make sure to take some where you are actually going to have the full time off and get to enjoy. And I'm actually opposite to you. This is my last little tip when it comes to the laptop thing. I don't bring it with me. I actually put it away every weekend and away. And what I would say for mentally switching off, something I do, and it's probably really silly to be honest, but it helps me, is I nearly ceremoniously put it away.
Okay, I love this.
Right. So it's like I get the laptop, it goes into its case, the phone goes into the case, case closes, I've got a little bag, I put my notebook, all my pens, everything go into this bag, and I've got a press that it goes into, and so that bag goes into the press. So it's nearly like a little closing ceremony of like my
That's
week.
amazing.
Yeah, or like whatever it is, or if we're going on holidays and I mentally close that press, it's away, it's gone,
Mm.
and that's it. And if anyone's thinking, Ellie, you literally put everything away, how's anyone going to contact you? Like I have said to people before, if you really need me, you'll find me on Instagram.
That's true, and it's great to have. It is great to have a one point source that people can
Mhm.
contact you in case of emergency. Like I said, that's a really, really good tip, and I love that you do that kind of ceremonious sort of act.
Yeah, it's like a little ritual
Love
type thing.
that.
Yeah.
Love that. It's really
Yeah.
good. Yeah, yeah. I hope to get to that at some stage where I do feel comfortable going away without my laptop. But for me, it definitely is my security blanket. And like I said, the last few years, I haven't actually taken it out,
Amazing.
which is great. But it's just, I don't know, there's something about that security of having it with me.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, look, we're all different. That's the
Yeah.
truth. We're all different when it comes to these things. And it's just about finding what works for you. But we would encourage you to
Mhm.
take some time off if
Yeah.
you haven't yet.
Mhm.
If you haven't got anything booked in yet this summer or for the rest of the year, get some time booked in. You can take it. You may need to look into it a little bit depending on how your business works, what types of clients you have, but it's 100% possible. Thank you very much for joining us for this episode of Virtual Ventures, and we will see you next time.